covering that live at the time. President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday when he unveiled these plans for his Golden Dome missile defense system designed to protect the country from ballistic and hypersonic missiles. And it's modeled again on the famed Iron Dome in Israel, which has stopped attacks by Hamas and Iran. Big difference, though, is Israel roughly 400 times smaller than the United States. So you have that challenge. Iron Dome uses radar to detect and intercept incoming rockets and missiles. Range capability less than 45 miles, though. Adversaries that we're looking at, the likes of Russia and China, a lot further away, and they're capable of much bigger attacks. So instead of ground-based radar, Golden Dome would use satellites up in space. So, as we said, we covered this live, but let's talk through it in some detail today while we have the time with the retired Navy Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, who joins us now, our current Senior Director of the Center on Cyber and Technology Innovation at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Welcome, sir. We just had a brief conversation about it yesterday, and I think people get caught up. Oh, is it worth it? How much is it going to cost? First, on the technical capabilities, and then we can talk about cost. What did you make of what the president said yesterday in terms of what the system would actually look like and if we're capable of building something like this now?
Well, thanks for having me, Connell. And, I'm glad you asked about the technical and the capabilities first, because there, I think the president really hit the mark. What he described is a problem that over the last 20 years, we've watched Russia and China build cruise, ballistic and hypersonic missiles and drones that can penetrate our systems, the limited systems we have, and can impact our homeland. And we really have taken no action. Finally, a president has said, hey, I've got a vision. It's for, he calls it Golden Dome, for this dome to do it. And I'm going to go at it. And probably the most important technical thing he said was that our defenses will be primarily space-based. And that is looking forward. He's saying, look, we've had great missile systems, but THAAD and Patriot, systems like that, they're 20, 30-year-old technology. He's saying we need to be in space. I think things have changed dramatically in the cost of space launch over the last 20 years that mean that he's probably right. A space-based defense is we should be looking forward. So I think the president, he's got the initial vision right, and he pushed it out the door.
So the lack of kind of technological capability even longer than 20 years ago, going back to like 1983 when President Reagan came with the Star Wars system, to your point, we've come a long way since then. So now we can do more. One of the questions the president was asked yesterday, which gets into the strategic need for this, is whether, hey, did your commanders in the field ask you for this, or was it just your idea? And he said, well, I went to them and they said, good idea, sir, we're on board with it. What would you say about the need for this in terms of the threats we face?
So first, I was a commander in the field, and we asked for it. So let's be clear. We've needed missile defense against hypersonic, cruise, and ballistic missiles for our forward deployed forces in the Pacific and Europe, and for the defense of the homeland. General Van Herk, the previous Northern Command commander, asked for it continually for 3 years, to the point that he was kind of shunted to the side by the last administration for saying it too often. So yes, the commanders want it. That's the first thing I'd say. And we need this kind of capability.
Cost, that was brought up as well. The president said $175 billion eventually. I've seen some private estimates that over a longer period of time is a lot higher than that, as you see here. So what would you say about cost?
So cost, first of all, I'm almost certain the president wasn't supposed to say $175 billion yesterday. It wasn't in any of their pre-release.
No, is that right? Well, that sometimes happens.
He was supposed to talk about $25 billion,
That's
but
right, the down payment from the bill.
The down payment, which is in the reconciliation bill that's moving through Congress. But he said the number. He's the president. He's allowed to. Look, $175 billion is on the low end. You put up a graphic just now from the Congressional Budget Office that makes clear that just the space-based interceptor system is probably, and I'll go for the low-end version, I think that's more accurate, $160 billion. Well, that's one of several components that are going to go into this. This thing's going to cost several $100 billion and more than 175, but it's a good investment, and that's money over time. That's not one-year money.
Okay, I think it was interesting to hear you make the case for this and, do so on all three of those areas. Thank you, sir, for coming on. Appreciate it. Mark Montgomery.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.